Hello world, welcome back to the Razor RC, and we got a fun video for you today. We're going to be doing the full lineup review of the whole Traxxas 4x4 monster truck lineup. So these are going to be 5 different vehicles: the Stampede 4x4 VXL like you see in front of us, the HAAS 4x4 VXL, the Traxxas Max, kind of a mid-range sized vehicle, the E-Revo 2.0, a 6S vehicle, and finally the big boy, the Traxxas XMaxx 8S, huge monster truck. Their top of the line vehicle that they have in their entire catalog. So I wanted to talk about all 5 of these, kind of the pros and cons of each, what you get when you pay a little bit more, for the next size up in the lineup, and what I like or dislike about each of these. First up, we got the Stampede 4x4, and it comes in a few different flavors. This is obviously the 4x4 version. They also make a 2-wheel drive vehicle, which is completely different. I'm not going to cover that. And then it comes in 2 different variations: the VXL, which is their brushless, faster vehicle, and then also their brushed vehicle. Now, the brush one also you can get in a kit format, which is kind of cool. You can build one of these yourself, with all the electronics, radio, everything that you need. I think it sells for like $270 to $880. But this is the 4x4 VXL. The current pricing at the time of this video sells for $380. So not a cheap vehicle, but this is kind of considered their entry-level vehicle within the monster truck 4x4 lineup, and I just want to talk about it. So this is the oldest of the monster truck lineup. It's been around for over 10 years. I want to say 12 or 13 years. Came out quite a long time ago, and obviously a successor to the 2-wheel drive version, but a completely different platform. This shares a lot of similarities with also the Slash 4x4, the HAAS 4x4, and also the Wrestler 4x4. They're all very, very similar vehicles, just kind of with different wheels and tires and stuff like that. So pulling off the body, we'll kind of take a quick look at this. On your standard Traxxas 4x4 layout, you got the plastic tub chassis, adjustable turnbuckles, a little receiver box up front, servo here on the side, kind of an upside down mounted, and then your Valenian brushless motor and ESC here. It does come with a slipper clutch here in the middle. Some of the other vehicles come with standard differentials. Actually, I think this is the only one that comes with a slipper still of the 5. And then the Traxxas Ultra Shocks. These have a couple of little modifications. I did put on the aluminum shock caps. That is not stock. And I'm also running the steel drive shafts there on all 4 corners. Adds a little more durability. The Ultra Shocks, they are plastic bodied. Been around for like over 20 years, I think. They've been used forever on the Traxxas vehicles. So overall, yeah, a pretty fun little truck. It is a little bit on the smaller side. I think the wheelbase is somewhere around 10.5 inches or so. It does come with the Talon tires, which are not particularly great. They're okay for the street, but once you get into the dirt, they're not that great. But yeah, a decent little vehicle, a good starter entry vehicle at $380. A little bit pricey compared to other brands out there. But if you want to get in the Traxxas lineup, obviously Stampede is where you're going to start. I think the brush one is actually a decent value. At around $280, about $100 less. It's nice you can build it yourself. Obviously, it's going to be a lot slower. This is probably in the high 20s, maybe 30 miles per hour. It does say it's 3S capable, but honestly, I would run this more on 2S lipos. This Valenian motor, it's really not that great on 3S. It does tend to run pretty hot. So if you want to run 3S, I do kind of recommend moving more on to the HAAS, which is better suited to that. But a good little vehicle. This was actually my first RC car, so I'm very familiar with this. Had a lot of fun with it. Does have some weaknesses. Like I mentioned, the Ultra Shocks are pretty weak. Servo, it's a plastic geared servo, not the greatest. And the main thing is you'll probably want to run this more on 2S. So overall, Stampede 4x4 VXL, good little entry truck, not too crazy fast or anything. I think it's good for a beginner. As long as you're not intending to jump this, like 30 feet high in the air, do triple backflips or something like that, I think it will perform fine. Other worthy upgrades are getting better tires, because these tires are just not that great in the dirt. And kind of the main weakness of this vehicle, it is on the small side. So even though they call it a 1/10 scale monster truck, it's definitely smaller than your standard 1/10 scale monster truck. At about 10.5 inch wheelbase, it's a little bit shorter. And then it's also got the high center of gravity chassis. So just not that great on like really bumpy terrain. But if you just want to drive around in the park, if you've never had an RC car before, I think this is a totally fine vehicle to start with. And like I mentioned, this was my first RC car and I don't regret getting that. It's still a solid vehicle and a lot of fun. Next up is the Traxxas HAAS at about $470 at the time of this video, and it is very, very similar to the Stampede. I got them side by side so you can tell almost every part is actually interchangeable between these two. As you can see, the wheels are a little bit taller. The wheelbase is also a little bit longer, so slightly longer and taller vehicle than the Stampede. Let's pull that off to the side here. But yeah, the HAAS essentially is just like a upgraded Stampede. This is actually the newest of all of these 5 vehicles. Came about a year and a half ago, I think in 2019 if I'm not mistaken. But it's basically got all the new technology that Traxxas has been putting out on their vehicles. So starting from the top, you can see the body. It actually has kind of this quick release system, so you can kind of pull off the body like an integrated roll cage. So this basically fixes a lot of the problems with the Stampede. The Stampede body is very fragile, easy to break. Definitely something you'll be going through a lot of different bodies if you don't, reinforce it. But this nice little HAAS body, it's got that integrated roll cage, provides tons more durability. It definitely will last a lot longer. Also a little bit easier to take on and off because it has that quick release system. Like I mentioned, it's got the bigger tires, so these tires definitely provide a lot more traction than the stock Stampede tires. So that's one of the areas they fixed. They added a bigger can motor, so this is the same motor from the Max. It's really a 4S or 3S capable motor, but the Millennium VXL 3S ESC is only 3S capable, so this is really only geared towards 3S. You would not want to run it on 4S, at least with the stock system. I did modify the shocks, so I did put on GTR shocks. It normally comes with the same Ultra shocks as the Stampede. Again, one of the main weakness probably of the HAAS is it still has the Stampede shocks, which do need upgrades in my opinion. Another area they fixed is they redesigned the bumpers, so the rear wheel wheelie bar on the Stampede tends to like flop around, not really stay in place. So this is a brand new wheelie bar. It does work a lot better. It is quite durable and a much beefier front end bumper to take more damage. Other improvements on the HAAS, they do have these, I think they're called the Extreme HD drive shafts. So they're still plastic drive shafts like the Stampede, but they are more durable, last a little bit longer. The arms on this thing also are a new type of material. They look pretty much the same as the Stampede arms, but they are basically a new type of plastic that flexes a little bit more and breaks a little bit less. In the transmission, there are some differences you can't see. It does have a steel spur gear. It also has a center differential, so those are some nice durability upgrades in the middle. Center differential allows it to drive a little more fluid, perform a little better, handle a little bit better. And then they did also redesign the battery strap. So instead of like a simple battery strap with like a body clip, it's kind of got this quick release system, so you can easily, take a battery in and out just by popping one in there. The battery compartment is a little bit on the small side. Some people think you can flip this thing around, and I guess technically you can, but it doesn't really snap into place correctly. Kind of comes at the wrong angle and then tends to fall out on its own if you do that, so I don't recommend that. But yeah, if you stick with Traxxas batteries, it'll work just fine. Still has the same servo as a Stampede. I upgraded mine, but yeah, that is still kind of a bit of a weakness on the HAAS. So yeah, overall the HAAS pretty much fixes all the main durability and performance issues with the Stampede. It really is truly 3S capable. You can run it all day on 3S, no problems there, whereas the Stampede, you could do maybe a run or two up and down the street, but after that it'll basically just run pretty hot. So yeah, the HAAS sells for $90 more than the Stampede. I do like this one a lot more than the Stampede. Obviously it costs a lot more, but that $90 pretty much makes you like kind of a super Stampede. This is really like a Stampede 2.0, much improved over the regular Stampede. If you want to start doing bigger jumps, going a little bit faster, running 3S all the time, obviously this is going to be the one to get. A pretty good vehicle, and it is one of the newest on the market. Next up, we have the Traxxas Max. This is their mid-range vehicle, as you can see next to the Traxxas HAAS. Again, quite a bit longer, about another inch in wheelbase, quite a bit wider as well. I'd say probably another inch or so, although I am running the Wide Max kit, which has like extra long arms on my Traxxas Max, as well as the Proline Badlands tires. But yeah, taller, longer, wider, again, a step up in size, a step up in price. We'll pull the HAAS over here to the side and take a look at the Max. So yeah, this is a completely different vehicle from the HAAS. Pulling off the body, You can see, again, it has that exo cage, roll cage type thing, adds, again, more durability on the body. This durability, the body is quite durable itself. And then looking at the vehicle, it shares basically the same kind of style of vehicle as the XMaxx. So I would consider this essentially like a little baby XMaxx. It came out after the XMaxx. It's been out for about 3 years or so. Sells for $550. So again, about a $70 increase over the HAAS. But with that $70 increase, you get a much different type of vehicle, much more of the latest Traxxas technology, excuse me. It's got the VXL 4S ESC, so this is 4S capable. It does have the same motor as a HAAS, so obviously that motor does supply plenty of power. Integrated fan here, and then that XMaxx style body, kind of this bathtub style body with like these integrated shock towers. Dual shear type design for the shocks. Huge aluminum shocks. They are aluminum, which is a nice improvement over the plastic bodied shocks of the HAAS and the Stampede. Kind of symmetrical type design. The arms front and rear are the same. The shocks front and rear are the same. It's almost like difficult to tell which side is the front, which side is the back. It has a kind of an XMaxx style battery strap. So again, doesn't fit all the batteries out there. If you want to run 4S, you'll have to run, you know, kind of a skinnier 4S pack. But yeah, it is kind of a convenient, nice little touch. It does have the self-riding feature and the TSM, just like, you know, all the newer Traxxas. So yeah, this is basically a baby XMaxx. Does still have plastic drive shafts, front and rear. Does have the center differential and steel sprigger, just like the HAAS, but it does have kind of this nice little gear mesh type thing to make it easy to set your mesh. Overall, this is quite different than the lower end versions. Does have like the XMaxx size servo, so it does not fit like a standard size servo. You will have to buy like a Traxxas XMaxx size servo. Integrated wheelie bar, quite beefy overall. And yeah, what I would say about the Max is this is probably one of the most durable RC cars Traxxas makes, if not among like all the RC cars out there from any brand. This is one of the most durable RC cars you can buy. If you really want something that is not going to break, be up and running a lot more than usual, this is one of the best ones to get. You know, at $550, it's not cheap, especially for a plastic body, plastic chassis type vehicle, plastic drive shaft. So, you know, it's a little bit on the price side overall, but definitely one of the most durable RC cars you can make. It is 4S capable, you know, probably runs in like the low 40 mile per hour range, so it's not super fast. The other major weakness is it doesn't handle all that great. A lot of people think you need the Wide Max kit, which basically lengthens the arms, makes the truck a little bit wider. I'm not sure that's absolutely necessary. I do have a video on how to tune this vehicle to basically tune the shocks and suspension, get to roll over a lot less, but it still does, you know, it's probably one of the vehicles that handles the worst. It's got the highest center of gravity chassis. It's actually quite heavy for this size vehicle, so you know, it's not particularly maneuverable, but if you like jumping it super high, this is definitely one of the ones to consider because it is just so durable. If you don't like things to break, you hate working on your RC car, again, this is probably one of the ones to consider because it is so durable, not just among the Traxxas line, but pretty much among all the RC monster trucks out there. So Traxxas Max, $550. Again, I do think it's worth that extra, you know, $70, $80 over the HAAS. But obviously it will depend on your budget. But, you know, great RC car overall. This is actually probably the best RC car in the whole Traxxas monster truck lineup. At $550, you know, it's kind of mid-range price, but you get extreme durability, pretty good performance, and you know, it's one of the latest Traxxas vehicles as well. Hugely durable, fun little monster truck, and you know, I don't think anyone would generally be unhappy with this. After that, we have the E-Revo 2.0, which is kind of the odd man out in this full lineup. The Max obviously is a monster truck, but the E-Revo 2.0, it's longer, it's wider, but lower than the Max. So pulling this off to the side, you know, just kind of from a size comparison, you can see the differences. The E-Revo 2.0, I kind of struggled whether it really belonged to this comparison because it is so different, but Traxxas calls it a 10 scale monster truck. It's the only 6S monster truck in their lineup, so I thought I would include it. So pulling off the body, again, you do have that exo cage, sort of roll cage style body with the quick release system, really nice And looking at it, it is totally different than anything else in this lineup. It's based off the Revo or the E-Revo 1.0, basically a low center of gravity style chassis, lay down shocks, dual servos, motor and EC here in the middle, very long arms with these sort of rocker arms and push rods to basically control the suspension, wing here in the back. So I consider this really more like a 1/8 scale truggy, but Traxxas calls it a 1/10 scale monster truck, so who am I to complain? This vehicle, 6S capable, 2 batteries. You have to run them side by side like that, 2 3S packs, or you can also run on forest if you like. But yeah, awesome little monster truck. I don't think it's as durable as the Max. I think the Max and XMaxx are on a whole other level of durability. This is closer in durability to something like the HAAS, and I would consider the Stampede to be the lowest amount of durability. But yeah, great little truggy or monster truck. Handles the best of all these. I think this is the most fun to drive. It's probably more of like an advanced driver's type of vehicle. I wouldn't recommend this for your first RC car. It is 6S capable, you know, of over 50 miles per hour. It is quite fast, handles awesome. But you know, if you launch this into a tree or a curb or something like that, things are going to break. So it doesn't really handle, you know, quite as much crazy crashes and stuff like some of the other vehicles. E-Revo 2.0 sells for $650 at the time of this video. Again, another $100 over your Traxxas Max. You get a lot more speed, you know, probably 12, 13 miles per hour. Faster. It does handle a lot better. It is quite a bit wider, much lower center of gravity, hugs the ground a lot better, flies through the air a lot better. It's much straighter, easier to control. So this is really like their performance vehicle in the lineup. The closest thing to like a race truck. You could probably race this, you know, an 8-scale truggy at your local track if you wanted to. But yeah, totally different type of vehicle. Some things I don't like the dual servos. You know, you still have these cheap plastic geared servos like the HAAS and the Stampede. The laydown shock's a little bit weird. It is kind of weird to work on a little bit, but I don't think it's difficult to work on. Actually, fairly easy to work on in my opinion. And yeah, just kind of the performance model in their lineup. Is it really a monster truck? I don't know. Traxxas calls them a monster truck, but it doesn't really matter. For a 6S vehicle, if you want something in the Traxxas lineup, E-Revo 2.0 is pretty much the only thing that they make, and you know, quite fast, quite fun, handles awesome, really like a lot of tunability, a lot of adjustments you can make to get this to drive amazingly. It does have the pivot ball suspension here, front and rear, so that's quite different, quite unique among all the Traxxas vehicles, just kind of like pivot balls and then these hubs that they're mounted to. A little more durability. It does have the steel drive shafts all the way around, so all 4 corners you do get the steel CVAs, although the center drive shafts are plastic. But yeah, awesome little monster truck. Probably my favorite in this whole lineup, and I think it's still a great choice if you want this size type of vehicle. And that leaves us with the big boy, the top of the line flagship Traxxas. That is going to be the XMaxx, 8S capable, $1,000 1/6 scale monster truck. This is a beast, the legendary XMaxx. Kind of kicked off the whole segment. I think there were large vehicles like 5th scale vehicles like the Baja and stuff out there before the XMaxx, but this really popularized the segment. Made people realize, you know, there's a lot of people interested in these large, giant vehicles. So popping off the body. Again, your standard exo cage, roll cage, quick release body, very durable with that cage. And so yeah, it works pretty well. This thing is huge. Dual batteries, of course, 8S capable. It does take 2 4S packs here on the sides. So electronics are down the middle, as you can see, motor here in the back, the ESC down there in the middle, and then the servo and receiver box up front. It does have a center differential with what they call the Cush drive. Fully steel drivetrain, center drive shaft, actually the aluminum drive shaft down the middle, but everything else is steel. Everything is all metal drivetrain. This is a beast. Aluminum shocks front and rear. So again, kind of like the Max, symmetrical left, back and front. Both the shocks and arms are the same front and back. Looks very Max-like, as you can see. You know, that bathtub style chassis with the integrated shock towers. as you can tell, both the XMaxx and the Max are pretty much big brother, little brother. This thing sells for $1,000, so quite expensive at the time of this video. I think when it originally came out, it was like 800 bucks, and it came in like a 6S form, and then they realized that was too slow, so they went up to 8S, and then they've been increasing the price through the years and currently sells at $1,000. In my opinion, this is the most durable monster truck that Traxxas makes. This thing is a beast. I mean, even though it's big, even though it's heavy, when you launch this thing 20 feet high, it'll take it. If you crash this thing pretty poorly, it'll generally take it. The Max, again, is also pretty durable. Between the two, I think they're very close in durability. I would probably give the edge to the XMaxx. I've broken fewer things through the same amount of time. So yeah, this thing is a beast. Any downsides? Well, it is kind of narrow, doesn't jump quite as well as I think some of the other competitors out there like the TACXAS or whatever. But yeah, if you want to drive over like crazy terrain, this thing is obviously lifted up much higher. It can handle those big ruts and bumps and, you know, huge off-road construction sites, whatever you're trying to drive on the best. The other ones are obviously much smaller. E-Revo 2.0, more of like a track type vehicle, smoother type surfaces. The Max can handle some bumps and stuff like that, but again, it's like a 10 scale size, so you know, can't really handle the terrain. And that's really the big advantage, I think, of the XMaxx. Handle the most terrain, probably the most durable, most impressive, obviously, as well. It's actually not the fastest. The E-Revo 2.0 is definitely faster than this. It has decent speed, but really I recommend probably gearing it up a little bit. I'm running a 46 tooth spur in the center differential to give you a little bit more speed. I think stock is like 50 or 52 teeth, so a little bit, you know, gearing it up a little bit I think is okay. The servo again is kind of weird, but it works totally fine. This is the flagship of the whole Traxxas lineup. A lot of people consider this to be the best RC car ever made. I'm not sure that's true, but it certainly is one of the most durable. Can do the, you know, the craziest type terrain. You can still jump this thing pretty darn high, and it's quite impressive. Do double backflips and that kind of thing. So yeah, you can send this if you want. So great truck overall, not indestructible. No RC car is, but yeah, definitely one of the best ones out there. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and that kind of explained the whole Traxxas monster truck line. If you have any questions, throw them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.